welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode on Proofing Round the Back series, we're going to look at discrimination, how we can increase our dog's understanding of what our word means. So far, we've only been using one word during our sessions, and that's our round the back word. Now what we want to do is use other cues and test to see if our dog will understand other cues, or whether they've so patterned that round the back that no matter what happens, they'll do that. How can we do this? Well, the simplest way I think is to add in a wing wrap cue. So if I'm stood here and I say push, that means go round that wing. If I say loop, should mean go round that wing. So now I can test my dog's understanding and practice to see if they'll do one thing and the other. Because if they've patterned, what happens is that as soon as you move out away from the patterning, they lose the behaviour. So they look like they're amazing at it, but it's actually because they've just patterned it. As soon as you then add in a separate behaviour, you find out that the original behaviour wasn't as good as you thought. So this is a good way of testing your skill. So let's start by asking Swift to loop, loop, loop. Good girl. So that was an easy one. Now, if I'm standing here, come back here, baby, and I ask her, hang on, I didn't ask anything. So because she did that and picked to do that, Swift, I'm going to ask her to loop again. Loop, loop, loop. See, that's what I mean, she's patterning. That's what's been getting the reward. Loop, loop. So we're going to repeat it. Okay? Going to make sure I'm looking at that wing. Loop, loop, loop. We're going to try something different. Loop, loop. Swift hits. So you can see we've done so much work on that wing. That is her default. Good girl. Nose. So now we're having issues because she just thinks that's all I do all the time. This is what happens. You do a lot of work on one thing. That's all the dog wants to do because it's been so highly valuable and rewarding. It's the same as if you've got a tunnel monster because the tunnels are highly valuable and you have to try and get away from that. It's okay. It's okay we've put value in there. We just have to understand this is what's happening, and now we have to make sure we can also do discrimination. So I'm going to set up loop, 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 loop. Good girl. She chose then. She made a choice then. Now I'm going to help her a little bit. Push, push, push. So I move my foot, help her a bit, go back. I'm making sure I'm looking at that wing. Loop. Ready? Come here. Loop, loop, loop. Good girl. I can start to pattern this as well, because if I said loop and then I said push and I said loop and then push, that would be a pattern too. We have to remember that. Our brains like patterns. They like patterns too, but then they get clever and they learn. Okay, loop, loop, loop. Good girl. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can get the push back. Okay, ready? Swift. And I'm going to try not to move. Push, push, push. We've done that a few times. No, you didn't get that. That didn't work, did it? Swift. Swift. Push, push, push. See, we've patterned it. So now, to be fair to Swift, push, push, push. Good girl. To be fair to Swift, we've done a lot of sessions today because we're filming. So I suspect she's tired as well. But this is what happens. You're going to get sessions like this and you're going to go, why does my dog not understand this? It's hard. It's as simple as that. It's hard. Now, if I went in there and gave some body cues, because this is where people give up and they give body cues. If I did this, okay, loop, loop. Good girl. I'm ready, ready. Push, push. Look, she's perfect. But that's not what I want. I want her to be able to do it on verbals. And yes, this is hard. This is hard. And this is something that you will find you do. This is something you've got to keep doing throughout your dog's career to keep reinforcing the correct verbals and discrimination. And I will say that some dogs are better at this than others. Sparrow always struggled with this. Swift is actually better than Sparrow, but just in this instance, because she's done a lot and she's now getting mentally tired, she's not doing so well. If I came at this session another day, we'd see a different dog. It's just one of them things. I would suggest this is a little game you can play. You can set this up with a couple of cones if you've got space in the living room, certainly a garden. I've set it up in a tiny space with cones, and you can, it's just something to play with every day. Test your verbals. Now, let's just see what other verbals we've got in the bank and see if any of the others make sense. Right, right. Well, yes, that is very right, but right, right. No, she said I've got, so they're all gone. Because we've done a lot of sessions here, they're all gone. So, and she's good. She is normally very good. Okay, loop, 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 good girl. So, you know, it's just one of them things. It's one of them things that's good. You can see that she's going, don't get it. you have to keep working on it. It's something to add into your daily games. Just work for your cues, or even if not daily, weekly, certainly. It's just one of them things. So that's where you're going to go next. You're not going to stress if they don't get it. You're just going to say, okay, where do we go from here? So what happens if they are getting very confused? I would help them by my positioning. So if I'm here and I say loop, 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 that is obvious. If I now move over, push, 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 I make that more obvious. So I now decrease, I go back here, loop, 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 good girl. I move back here, push, push, push. And what I'm doing is just there, baby, decreasing the distance each time. So now I'm going to be here and I'm going to ask for the push, push, push. Because I'm here, she wants to take that one. So you see, she's still using my physical position. Push, 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 to know where to go. Good girl. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to help her and build it up gradually. Also, how close you begin helps as well, because when they're further back, they've got more time to make a decision and choose. It's just one of them things, and you just keep working on it, and you just keep going with it, and you help the dog along. If they start to lose one cue, work a couple of sessions on that cue, then add the other cue back in. Work when your dog's fresh and not tired, which she is tired, because this takes a lot of mental thinking. So that's just another little exercise to try to help proof your push rounds and all your other verbal cues. Hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video, and if you have, you might subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.